There's a great quote by Stephen Covey, and he said, "Management is climbing the ladder of success, but leadership is making sure the ladder's leaning on the right wall."
Hi all, welcome to another podcast video where we are in conversation with experienced bankers from the US region. Now, today we are joined by Mr. Randolph Selig, who is the founder of the Selig Capital Group, a boutique investment banking and advisory firm with a career that began on Wall Street like 5 decades back. Rand has spent decades advising companies on strategic growth, transactions, long-term value creation, etc. He's also a respected thought leader who is also an author of a book called Thriving, where he talks about leadership and purpose-driven business, bringing a unique perspective that goes beyond just deals. So welcome to my show, Rand Selig. Thanks for taking the time out.
It's my pleasure to be here with you.
So to start with, I would like to understand, could you please walk us through the background and highlight some key milestones in your professional journey so far?
Absolutely. My professional career began with obtaining my MBA from Stanford, and I then went to Wall Street with Lehman Brothers, and that led to a few other positions with major firms. And along the way, I realized that I really wanted to have my own firm. I didn't like meetings, and I didn't like a boss other than the ones who said, "What can I do for you? What resources do you need?" So starting your own firm is a non-trivial thing. You really have to know what your focus is. You have to be prepared. You have to be able to say no and take care of yourself along the way. So during my long career now, I've innovated a number of financial products that are being used currently. Probably the major one is long-term currency swaps, which has led to interest rate swaps and a variety of other models. When I and 2 other people started that back in the early 80s, it was a very structured, it was a corporate finance transaction, not a trading floor situation. That is now a $1 trillion a year business. So in my career, I've had completed over 250 very complicated transactions, mergers and acquisitions, and private placements and buyouts. And I'm very pleased to say that in 2024, my firm, the Selig Capital Group, was named the best sustainable investment banking firm in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is a very significant marketplace.
Yeah, that's something great to start with. So I would like to understand, like, how does building a company around service and relationships differ from a traditional sales-driven approach? So what's your thought on that?
Well, it's a critically important issue to distinguish. A lot of people are really about sales, and sometimes they'll say, "Oh, they're about service," but they quickly start talking about trying to sell you on something. So the truth comes out very quickly. In my firm, we have always had the idea that we need to really understand our client, understand their objectives. If we don't understand their objectives, then we can't do the job we need to do. And it is usually the case, I would say almost 100% of the time, the case that our client, who is a business owner or a CEO, also needs a lot of help clarifying their objectives. So what that is basically is building a relationship, and it leads to building trust and confidence. there have been many cases where an owner of a company would call me up, say, I got your name from a law firm or an accounting firm, and I want to sell my firm. And I said, well, I'm delighted to speak with you. Let's talk about why you want to sell. Tell me about your company. Tell me why you want to sell. And what became very clear quickly was that they were having an issue with a partner. And I said, if we could solve the problem with the partner, would you want to sell? And they would say, oh, no, I love my company. I just don't like the partner. I said, okay, well, why don't we work on that? And they would say, wow, you would do that? Because your fee would be so much less than if you solve the partner problem and buy him out or whatever we do, as opposed to selling the whole firm. And I said, no, this is absolutely my pleasure. I'm here to meet or exceed your objectives. So this is a very rich world to live in. It's a world that's very fulfilling. There's a lot of integrity about it. And I just encourage anybody who's listening to this to really think hard about whether you're in the service world or whether you're really maybe disguising it here in the sales world.
That's great thought, Rand. Like, again, as a continuation of that question, so in your opinion, what is the difference between leadership and management?
You know, these are words that we often use interchangeably. But words matter because they lead people in a certain direction. There's a great quote by Stephen Covey, and he said, management is climbing the ladder of success. But leadership is making sure the ladder's leaning on the right wall.
Oh, great.
So the essence of all of this is that leadership is about setting vision and articulating that vision. It's about creating culture. It's about inspiring people and encouraging and motivating people. It's a very high level thing. And a lot of companies, certainly smaller and mid-sized companies, there isn't really leadership. They're so occupied. The senior team is so occupied on operational things that they don't have the chance to really think about strategy and think hard about what their vision is and what their mission is. So a manager, by contrast, is the one who plans the work. They organize the team. They assign and direct people. And of course, they make the adjustments necessary to keep the ball moving forward to accomplish the vision that the leader has established. So you could see these are very, very different kinds of things. And in my experience, and based on reading a lot of material about this, very few people, if anybody actually, are equally good as leaders. Typically, you're going to have strengths in one or the two. Now, you can, over time, strengthen yourself and become better at the other one. But I think the fundamental sort of DNA of a person is more aligned with either the visionary leadership or the operational management kinds of tasks.
That's great, Rand. So, like, on my personal interest, I want to ask this question. So, is this the philosophy you were following from the initial days, or like in the process with the experience you gathered this thought process? Like, how was it?
Yeah, so I think like so many things in life, I've evolved. I've expanded and grown. I've learned from mistakes I've made. I've learned because I consider myself to be a lifelong learner. I embrace the opportunity to learn something new, a new company, a new personality, a new challenge that comes my way, and that's a deep joy for me to have that kind of experience. I started off actually way back in high school as a leader. I was the yearbook editor-in-chief, and this was a high school that had been around for 125 years. Being editor-in-chief of the yearbook was a very big position, and of course, it's a lasting kind of proposition, because people can return to it, year after year, decade after decade. And so I had several ideas that had never been tried before. One was to have color. A color in a yearbook is, of course, expensive, but it adds a depth to the enjoyment of the book. And I also thought there was an absolute possibility we'd make money, we'd make a profit, which had never been done before. So we succeeded with both those brand new ideas and a vision for the possibilities. But the management was a very different thing. I had 8 section editors, and we had rigorous deadlines. And I knew of them all. Several were close friends. But by the end of the year, I think most of them really didn't want to be friends with me anymore. I had been so tough on them, so rigorous about, quality. It was good for the most part, but insisting on the deadlines. And I didn't handle that very well. And it was a wake-up call for me to get a lot better at interpersonal relationships and to have influence in a positive way rather than sort of using a stick to beat people up. So that began a long process of getting better and better at listening to people, at understanding where they were stuck and trying to help them, as opposed to just pushing and pushing.
That's great, Rand. So you had the leadership trait earlier itself, then you polished it, and then you made it into a lifelong philosophy. That's great, Rand. So as a continuation of that, I would like to ask that with all your experience, like how do you define success, and what does enough mean to you?
Well, success is something a lot of people yearn for. It's increasingly something around the world. It's more often than not, people think of success as being a financially related thing. And I think this is unfortunate. Success is not your accomplishments. Your success to me is your accomplishments, but it's not who you are as a person. And to be successful, I think, is a very internal dynamic as opposed to the accomplishments which are external. For me personally, I feel successful because I have a peace of mind. I am very positive. I have a positive outlook. That's a choice I make very often, especially when there's a lot of challenges going on, is having purpose. I have had purpose, since high school, and I continue to have purpose. I'm grateful. Building deep and enduring relationships is a core element to being successful. And in my career, I've helped a lot of people with a transaction. It's added a lot to their financial well-being. But in my view, they were not successful. And why? Well, because they had failed relationships all around them, business relationships, personal relationships, and they weren't taking care of themselves physically or emotionally. They're not successful if you don't do those kinds of things. It's really important to have self-care. And this is important in a lot of careers, investment banking for sure. A lot of the legal world is that way. A lot of the medical world is that way. There's a lot of demands. You need to take care of yourself. You need to rest when you need to rest. You need to refuel. You need to just care for yourself. And the last thing I'll add, it's a long list of success, but having vitality. Aging well, and we're all aging. I mean, you're aging. I think the turning point is in your 20s when you start really aging in some way or another, and then it can accelerate. But aging well is about vitality. It's not about longevity. And so if you're going to continue on in a career or continue on and embrace life and enjoy life and be healthy and happy and prosperous, vitality has to be right there with you.
That's great. You're talking about mental peace, and I could see a Buddha on your backside near to the window. There's a Buddha also I can see. So So that's a great, Rand. So again, like I understand that you have written a book called Thriving. So what's your core message for young working professionals in today's world?
Well, here's the book. It's a bestseller. It's an award-winning book. It sells in countries all over the world, mostly English speaking. I've not had it translated yet. But the core message is that we all can move further on the path to thriving by making key choices, intentional choices in our lives. These are about how we spend our time, who we spend our time with. Uh, it's important to take an inventory of your habits. Because you have good habits, you probably have some habits that aren't so good, and there might be some habits you wish you had. And then finally, choices about your feelings. There are a lot of things that happen very quickly, but there are choices that lead to a certain immediate reaction, and then whether you hold on to those or not. If there are good feelings and good things, then great. But if they're not, then maybe making another choice is really good. In essence, it boils down to I raise the question, who's driving your bus? So are you driving on autopilot? Are you driving through fog? Because you really don't know yourself. You don't know what's going on. But if you are driving your own bus, then you're making some really important decisions. You're deciding how fast to go. And that means that you can slow it up and you don't have to get overwhelmed. You can decide uh, when to stop and rest. And again, self-care. You can go out in nature, spend time with people that you care about and who care about you. You can make choices about when to turn right or left. And life is full of transitions. So making key choices around those turns is really important. And then of course, you're making decisions about who to invite on your bus. It's very important to keep adding people. You don't want to be at a certain age and everybody's your age because you're missing out. You're missing out on opportunity to experience people who are older, 20 or more years older, or who are half your age, and they're living life and seeing life and speaking about life in a different way. And it is also the case that there are times when you need to consciously but kindly invite people off your bus.
That's great, Rand. That is a great thought and a motivational, inspirational thought also from your side. Thanks for sharing it with me and our audience also. Now, moving to the last question of our session. Now, the buzzword in the ecosystem is AI. So, I would like to understand, like, how are you using AI or how are you using data tools on your day-to-day work environment?
Yeah, AI. I'm enjoying AI. I'm not worried about it. I'm not anxious about it. I'm using it as a tool to leverage myself. So mostly the AI that I've been using the last couple of years is associated with my book. When I actually wrote the book, my copy editor said, "Rand, this is a nonfiction book, and so there are a lot of citations. You have 80 citations right now." But there are pages here where I can't determine whether it's you, the speaker, or you're referring to somebody else who you talk about in the first paragraph. So we need to add more citations to that. Well, a citation is a very specific thing. It refers exactly to the page number, the book, the article, whatever it is. And so to go back through that and add another 50 or 60 citations, AI was very helpful to me for that. I also used AI and continue to use AI because I'm on very nicely a lot of podcasts as a guest, and to help amplify the themes in my book and to help other people have a chance to listen to a podcast, I'm using an AI platform called Inkflare. And the Inkflare read my book in 16 seconds And every week, they're sending me 5 social media posts, which I can approve, I can edit, I can reject. I don't reject very many of them, but there are times when I do some editing, or there's something about some of these are written, some are video, some are audio, and so there are times when I prefer to have some adjustment, and they attend to that very quickly. Well, to do social media posting, for me at least, is a big chore. It's very time consuming. I was doing that for, several years. And all of a sudden, this AI platform came to me and said, we'd like you to be part of our world. And I was delighted. Over close to 200 posts now that have come out using this platform. And so, again, a leveraging tool frees me up to work on other projects. And then the third thing that I'm hopefully going to have in the next 6 months or so is use AI to create a workshop. Whether it's a 3-hour workshop or it's a multi-day workshop, I can prompt AI, give AI the book, have them read it, give some instructions through some prompts, add some music. If it's a multiple day workshop, I can ask for some suggestions from my network of who would be a good co-leader of the workshop, and what exercises would be good for the participants. So this is, again, yes, I can do these things by myself, but boy, AI can not only do it much faster, but also in some cases I've seen much smarter. So I'm
Yes.
looking forward to embracing it more and more.
Yes. So that's great thought from you, Rand. The way you started investment banking, and after like almost like 50 years, now where the world is with AI and all these things, you might have started by writing down something, or maybe in a floppy disk, then in a CD, then in a DVD. So things have changed a lot. I really enjoyed talking to you. So do you have any closing statement?
Well, I just want to encourage people who are part of your terrific system to take care of themselves. Investment banking can be very rigorous. It can deplete people. A lot of people get to their 40s, they've made a good amount of money, and they're burnt out. And then they just have to escape. They sort of press an escape button. And if you really have been enjoying what you're doing, and if you're good at what you're doing, then you can take time away. I say take at least one day off every day. I have had a very full career, but I always did that. And surprisingly, I came back very refreshed and often with new ideas that I wasn't thinking about. It just sort of popped into my brain. I said, "Oh my gosh, what about doing this instead of that?" And so this again, the idea of uh, taking time for yourself, especially when you have a lot of demands and is an absolutely critical thing. You become a better person, and your relationships with other people are better too.
Thanks a lot, Rand, for sharing your wisdom with us. And I'm also really feeling happy that we have such a conversation. So thanks a lot for taking your time out and joining with us.
Well, it's my pleasure to be with you today, and I wish you every bit of continuous success.